We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanov. As you may or may not know, and really you should know, the podcast airs on Saturdays at noon Eastern Time on my radio station, Musical Theater Radio. But without people like today's guest, you would be listening to dead air. You would be listening to nothing. So our guest today is so important to our industry. Today we speak with the founder and owner of J Records and former owner and founder of the world famous Dress Circle. I'd like to welcome to the show, John Yap. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you. I look forward to learning all about the company and the shows that you recorded. But I always start off every interview the same way. Give me your 30-second bio. Who is John in 30 seconds?
Oh dear. Well, I was born in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. As a little boy, my mother took me to see all those wonderful MGM musicals. I fell in love with Kismet and Vic Damone, and then of course I fell in love with the musicals. And when I came to London to further my studies, I just developed a love. I went to see musicals, and I never stopped looking back.
Very cool. Well, that was like 26 seconds. Lots of time.
You want 4 more seconds? Okay.
And you have 4 more seconds.
And then I started a mail order business specializing in musical theater, and then I started a shop originally called as Entertainment Records, but then changed to Dress Circle, located in Common Garden and Monmouth Street.
Awesome. Perfect. And you kind of answered my next question, which is usually, were you always into musicals growing up, or is that something you grew into? Well, obviously you did like listen to musicals. Did you always want to get involved in musicals and musical theater, or did you want to, when you were younger, want to do something else with your life?
Well, I do have a degree in graphic designing, and I could have been a very successful graphic designer. Because when I graduated, I was employed by a West End advertising agency, and for some strange unknown reasons, one of my first brief was to come up with a campaign for British Airways. And I mean, I was like there, a month later, I was asked to do this campaign. I did a very simple campaign called Windows of the World, poster campaign, where I just had basically 2 panels that represented reflecting windows, and had 2 iconic pictures of each city the British Airways flies, and always at the top is Windows of the World, at the bottom British Airways logo. And in London I would have Tower Bridge and Big Ben. Rio de Janeiro I have the Sugarloaf Mountain and the Christ, and that British Airways accepted that immediately, and it went on an international campaign, and it was wonderful for me to see these posters everywhere I went around the world, but then the musical theater call. I was at the same time selling my musical theater collection, which was quite extensive because I'm a compulsive collector. And I knew that there was a collector's market for those LPs. And I just did a mail order kind of service, and that took off. And I was actually charging collector's prices as well, sometimes as high as 200, 400, 500 pounds for an LP, at that time. And then I realized that my work, answering a few letters every evening after work at home, was actually making me more money than I was earning as a graphic designer. So in spite of that wonderful start, that shining star start as a graphic designer, I packed my job in, and they were shocked. They were surprised. They said, "Oh, John, you have such a wonderful opportunity here," and blah blah blah. I said, "Look, I have to follow what my interest and my heart goes, And so I packed it up and then concentrated on the mail order, which really took off. And then from there, I started a shop. I opened a shop in Covent Garden, in the Drury Lane, actually. The first shop was in Drury Lane. I took in a partner, and that shop being specializing only in film shows, recordings. I think it was like probably the only one in the world. But and so that was hugely, enormously successful, and it took off. And then when the actual Piazza, I don't even know what I mean about the Piazza Covent Garden, the development. When that development opened, there were 49 units that inviting interesting businesses to go into that building. It is handled by the Greater London Council, government council. And we submitted thinking, oh, well, there are hundreds of applications from all around England, the world, United Kingdom. And we got it. We were one of the 49 successful ones. So we went in there, and of course, immediately our business took up even greater success. Yeah, and so we were there successfully running. And then when it's time for that shop to expand, I knew that the uniqueness of the shop was me and my partner being there, because we spoke and discussed and talked to the customers about musicals and things like that. That was the reason for the huge success, more than just having the stock. And I knew that we couldn't just start another branch somewhere else. And so I decided to start a label. And so hence TRJ Records was born.
Very cool. Like that shop would have been so incredible to be able to go into and just to talk to people about their love of musicals and to discuss with yourself or your partner or anybody else in there, the rare finds or the newest shows coming out. What kind of, did you have just British shows, or did you have shows from international around the world?
Oh, we have shows from around the world. In that we almost, at that time, all the other record shops have no idea how to broadcast albums and things like that. They have the current hit shows, but they didn't know how to service the rest of the community, who were into. It's a bit like opera. See, my real love is opera. An opera recordings, people, they started with La Boheme, then they go to Red and Butterfly, then they go to maybe La Rondine, and then they go to La Fanciulla, and then finally they go to La Ville. So this is what happens with musicals as well. Start off with The Sound of Music, and then you start investigating Rodgers and Hammerstein, Rodgers and Hart, and then so we sold everything new and collector's items. Wow. One thing at the very beginning, our shop in Drury Lane, we actually had a little area where there's a table and some chairs, low chairs, where we serve wine and coffee and tidbits to our customers, so that we can sit down there and discuss. And then customers started coming in and started talking to each other, and it became a social center as well for music theater lovers. That's why it was so successful.
What year was that? What years were those?
In the 70s.
Wow. See, that would have been like, you have all those, nowadays you have those coffee shops, you can go into a bookstore and they have their coffee and their stuff like that. Nothing like that, I believe, probably existed.
No, the only one. It wasn't just coffee and wine. It was that we had conversations. Yeah. We could answer questions, and we knew what was coming out. We knew what was deleted. We knew what was being sold, and what was popular, and what was rare. Mm-hmm. So
it's unfortunate. We have nowadays access to everything digitally, but it loses that face-to-face interaction, that moment where you can discover something new by going physically into a shop. I love going to old record stores and flipping through the records and seeing what's there, the tactile sensation of touching things.
Absolutely. And also, well, for us, of course, the great thing is that when someone comes in and we give them a glass of wine and the friendliness, hospitality, and chattiness, they always end up buying several items anyway. Nobody left our shop without spending money.
Very smart business people.
Mhm.
So you said is that shop closed now? When did it close?
Well, what happened was when I started the record label,
Mm-hmm.
I found that it was a bit difficult for me to run the label and the shop.
Of course.
So I sold my share of the shop to my partner, ex-partner, and he changed it to Dress Circle
Mm.
because I retained that entertainment for the label. And then he ran the shop for a little bit, and then he sold it on to someone else, and then they moved to Monmouth Street.
Okay, very cool. So let's talk about J Records. Well, how did the name come, first of all?
Well, my name is John Andrew Yap.
There we go. Okay, that was easy enough.
And as there is a lovely bird called a jaybird, so I had a great friend of mine to come up with a logo of the jaybird, and he did that logo, you know.
Well, wait, as a graphic designer, you had somebody else come up with your logo? That must be difficult for somebody to come up with something and present it to you.
I was very busy negotiating recordings.
Okay. Okay, that's okay then, yes.
Well, it was in conjunction. I mean, I did trim it down. I did suggest.
That's funny. All right. So you started J Records. How did you get that? What was the first show that you got onto J Records?
Well, the thing is that right from the very, very, very beginning, I knew that I didn't want to just start a label where I just recorded, cast albums and hit songs and just go for the hit albums and just whatever that came my way, I recorded. I was very, very, very conscientious of the fact that I needed to maintain a quality and have this label as a very unique, different label. So my very first recording was a show called Nashville, New York, and it was a French musical review.
Okay.
Now, if I told you that the Nashville, New York was a review using the words of Ogden Nash, with the music of Kurt Weill and Vernon Duke,
Interesting.
that's quality, So that was a very successful, artistically satisfying show that ran at the King's Head Theatre, which is an off-Broadway kind of French theater, but it was a very notable venue because it had a lot of, at that time, successful transfers to the West End, some very important plays. I think Kennedy's Children was one of them that started there and became a big smash hit. It's a very important play called Kennedy's Children. But anyway, that's my very first recording, Nashville, New York.
Very good.
And the second one, I maintained the quality. It was another French musical review. This time it's based on the poems and writings of John Betjeman, our poet laureate.
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with British poets and wonderful writers, John Betjeman was wonderful, and so his poems were set to music by some West End artist and composer, and so we recorded that as our second album, which was instead of just doing the musical, the latest musical that came on, whatever.
Yeah. No, I love discovering new stuff. And you just said two shows that I don't know. I went through your cast recordings and your work on the website, and I'm like, a lot of those I do have, but then there's a bunch of them like, I don't know this one. No, maybe it's because I'm in North America, I'm in Canada, but also because you aren't focusing just on the big popular ones, right? It looks like your love is for musical theater.
Musical theater and perpetuation and appreciation of them. But of course, luck. I have to admit, I have been very, very lucky.
Yes.
Luck struck by my third one, a fledgling new independent label with no history in competition with majors at EMI. I got my first West End cast album.
Wow.
I couldn't believe my luck when the composer David Haneke, who wrote Half a Sixpence,
Yeah.
um, one of the major British composers. That's one of his shows, and I recorded the cast album of that West End production, The Biograph Girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah,
So,
and it's luck and skill. You got to have a little bit of both just to
okay.
succeed.
But
Yeah.
luck. I mean, fine. I will accept the skill, but I I really believe that luck came in my way
Yeah.
because it sort of happened in stages. After the Biograph Girl, uh, I then, because of my love for musical, I I I saw a show called I and Albert,
Okay.
which was written by Charles Strauss and Lee Adams,
Hmm.
Bye Bye Birdie and Annie and Applause and all those things. They played in London. They were going to do a cast recording, but because the show didn't really work, it folded. Um, and that cast album didn't happen. So when I was in a position where I could organize a cast album, in retrospect, I decided to get in touch with Charles Strauss
Hmm.
and propose to him that I wanted to retrospectively bring the original cast back to record with the original orchestrations his score for I and L. But of course, he was thrilled and delighted, and he gave me 100% support and cooperation.
Wow.
And and we were we started to do that recording, but of course, we found that orchestrations that didn't nobody knew where the orchestrations were.
Oh no.
And I wasn't going to do a new set of orchestrations. I needed to wanting to record the original
Yeah.
orchestration. So I did a bit of luck. You see, luck comes in.
Yeah.
I did a bit of investigation, and somebody said to me, "Oh, look, John, I think I know where those orchestrations were." Apparently, when I and Albert folded, they were put into administration receivership. You know what I mean by that? Bankruptcy.
Hmm.
And so everything was seized and locked away.
Wow.
If they weren't, if they didn't go bankrupt, if it wasn't seized, those orchestrations should have been lost forever. But it was
Wow.
seized, locked away, and nobody could touch it. You see, and and I found out where it was locked away, and then I found out who had the keys to those locks. Uh, it was another West End producer, Richard Pilbrow. I think he was owed some money or something like that, or he was involved with it.
Yeah.
So I got in touch with them. They were shocked. Why would you want to record this flop and everything else? I said, no, because I wanted to. So anyway, cut long story short, I got the keys. Went in and saw all these props and everything from I and Albert in the
Wow.
lockup and just got my score out and we recorded I and Albert. And I got Sven Berteltorp back from Sweden
Wow.
and Polly James from the West End back, and so we did a recording, and that was great. We did it as a limited edition LP,
Mhm.
vinyl, but we sold out completely immediately. So
Well, you know what? I just have to say this now from people like myself and others lovers of musical theater. We have to thank you for putting shows like that into press and creating cast recordings. Because if you hadn't have done that, that show would have been probably
oh
lost
God, it's
for all
lost,
time. And there's
and
unfortunately so many shows like
yeah,
that.
nobody would have known where those orchestrations were.
Hmm.
But of course, they are now in Charles Strauss's hands.
Wow.
Because when I finished, the person who had the key didn't care, so I just gave them to Charles.
Well, yeah, what else are you going to do with them, I guess, right?
And we did another retrospective recording soon after that. Well, a few recording after I got another lucky break. Soon after that, I got another West End show, the next one,
Mhm.
which was Pal Joey with Sean Phillips and Dennis Lawson.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful release for us. Again, I was shocked that the other the major companies were vying for that, but they gave it to me. So I think luck as well but maybe my persuasion,
Mhm.
my power of persuasion, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah.
It's working on me. So you're persuading me to buy all this stuff.
You
So
should. and then I want to quickly talk about the next retrospective that I brought the cast back.
for sure.
It's very important, and it's another show called. It's a flop. It's not a hit show. If it was a hit show, it would have had a cast album done already. But it's a flop. The genesis of that is that the composer is so important.
Mhm.
It's the film composer John Williams,
Oh,
and this is his only stage musical. You see, and when I got in touch with him and said, I want to record your Thomas and the King, which was based on Thomas Becket,
yes.
he was shocked. But in this instance, because he was a Hollywood man, he had the orchestrations.
Yes.
So he collected all the orchestrations and took them back to Hollywood with him. So, and it's very interesting because in Thomas and the King, there's one track which came before Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of those songs in Thomas and the King, you have the dun 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 dun. So he didn't waste his orchestrations. He used it later on.
I actually have that CD. I have that Thomas and the King, and I play some of the songs on the station.
Well, listen to that. Dum, 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 dum,
Yeah, I don't remember that. It's been a while since.
But of course, it wasn't played at that speed. It was dun 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 dun. Dun.
Maybe that's why I didn't hear it.
Just slow it down,
So how do you choose and why do you choose the shows that you choose to record? Is there a criteria, or is it just a passion that you have for it?
Passion and quality, and also the people involved, the writers,
Mm-hmm.
and whether that show, in my opinion, was of any importance in the hierarchy, in the annals of the musical theater. So actually the commercial aspect of it is the last factor in my thinking. Of course, I would love every one of them to be hugely successful commercially, but that's always the last consideration. But again, luck, you see. And soon after that, by number 11, I think it's number 11 and number 12 release. Again, we have a new television channel starting, Channel 4. Before then, we only had three miserable channels: BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. Yeah. Then there was a new both channel. We were also excited, we are going to get all channels starting. And one of the flagship production, which was the first program ad on the inauguration of Channel 4, was their 12-part adaptation of the Royal Shakespeare Company's production of Nicholas Nickleby, The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. Yeah. And I had a phone call from the music person in Channel 4. He says, "Oh, look, we have this soundtrack of the Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby, which is going to be aired for 12 weeks nationwide on this brand new channel. Yeah. Would you like to release it, the soundtrack album?" Would I like to release it? No. Yeah, of course. And then I said, of course, you help promote it. You have to put the line original soundtrack available on TER Records at the end of each program. Yeah, sure. So I don't know how I got it. I got it. Luck, I think. Wow. And the 12 weeks we sold tens of thousands of that soundtrack album.
Wow! Congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
And that gave me a lot more financing now for me to go big.
For sure. I understand that you've got at this moment of the recording, you've got a new album, not a new album, but a new album for you, a new release of an old show. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm really excited when I learned about it. So tell us a little bit.
Well, which one are you talking about? There are two.
I don't know. Tell us about whichever one.
I know. No. There's only one major new release that I've driven the whole world crazy for the last 24 years. Okay,
Yes.
this was a recording recorded 24 years ago,
Hmm.
and ever since then, I've been driven crazy by people. I've been driving people crazy by not releasing it.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't because of anything, because I just didn't. I knew that I needed to concentrate and give it the best I could for this release, and I just at that time, all these years, even now, I'm so busy, and the only reason why it is now finally coming out at the end of this year, October, November, December, we haven't quite fixed the date.
Yep.
Is strange enough because of the lockdown.
Yep.
You see, the last 6 months, I was forced to stay at home and work on this on this recording. Otherwise, if there wasn't a lockdown, I would be off and doing all the things I was,
Yeah.
and this recording would still be languishing, waiting for me to get to it. Well, anyway, finally, it's finished and it's exciting. It's absolutely thrilling and exciting. And I got it from the master's mouth. He loved it. He thought it's thrilling, it's exciting, and and it's wonderful. So, and the recording is the first complete recording of Anyone Can Whistle.
Wow. That's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and you know what's so incredible is, again, is timing. I chose, not because of anything, just by coincidence, to release it this year, 2020. Well, it's sometimes the 90 years, which we are commemorating that release for his 90 years. But because it's complete, and I've got Arthur Lawrence playing the part of the narrator on the recording. I have Julia McKenzie playing Cora, Maria Friedman playing Faye, and John Barrowman playing Hapgood. But because it's complete, there are loads of musical passages, lyrics, and dialogue and book of the original version, the original Broadway version, which we recorded, not the adapted and rewritten concert version, which everybody's familiar with. Anyone Can Whistle is actually a prophetic, contemporary political musical, because I couldn't believe hearing the other words that were coming out of Cora. It's almost like, the American president at the moment has studied the script and lyrics of Anyone Can Whistle and started using them. I mean, words like lock them up, put them away in a cage, women and children first, this sort of amazing, and so this release, and even a throwaway line like the theaters are dark. Who in the wildest dream would think that line would actually come to reality, and not only reality, but the entire Broadway theaters are dark. The entire theaters in the world are dark. So it's so prophetic, and there are loads of other instances which we will be. We have I had a very interesting person to write the liner notes for this release, which is not about Sondheim 60s musical and lovely songs and this and that. It's actually he did a very thorough comparison between what this musical foretold and what is happening now. So basically, Anyone Can Whistle 2020, which is our recording, is actually a very contemporary political musical that is very relevant to our time now.
I cannot wait for that release.
It's all because of all the additional bits that people who love Anyone Can Whistle didn't quite get, because it was never recorded before. Was never brought out before in any recordings, because we recorded dialogue as well. You see, not all the dialogue, but a lot of dialogue. And in the dialogue, you could hear all these amazing prophetic political issues that were being mentioned and brought up. A bankrupt town, and this leader Cora who craves to be loved, and who wants to cheat and lie and get their votes and have fake music, fake miracle, fake religion, and appealing to the religious aspect of people to grab them. It's all there in anyone. Oh,
wow. So obviously you've listened to this, your version of this one. Now you've probably listened to the other versions. How much of a difference is there? Is there a huge difference, or is it subtle, the changes?
Obviously, I'm going to say that my cast is revelation. Revelation. The thing is that Angela Lansbury is a big Broadway star and wonderful, and everybody loves her. But don't forget that Anyone Can Whistle was her very first Broadway musical. Yeah, she was young, And when
I meant more the show itself, not the performers. Did you notice the difference?
That's the difference as well. You see, in terms of the interpretation.
Yeah,
Julia McKenzie has invested a lot more character to Cora, and so did Maria Friedman. But in terms of the show, the major difference is the political aspect, because I never really thought of Anyone Can Whistle being a contemporary political musical.
Yeah.
So we are campaigning. We are going to release it on Anyone Can Whistle from 1964 to 2020, and it's not a 1960s musical. It's not only a 60s musical. No. It is very much a current, contemporary, political, relevant musical.
It sounds like once this is released and people start listening to it, this show might get more stagings.
Absolutely, nothing would thrill me more than to have someone like the National Theatre or the Lincoln Center to put on not the concert version, which is basically just the songs but original Broadway 3-act version, and bring out the real sort of core of what that musical is about. It's about optimism, about the belief. If Faye could easily be AOC, compared to contemporary, because she's idealistic. She believes in wanting to do good and being proper and this and that. See, she isn't just someone there to sing Anyone Can Whistle. She sings now. That list of discontentment and corruption that she reels off.
Wow, you're gonna have people lining up to listen to this.
I hope so. I hope so. Of course, the other big revelation too, and which our poster will our cover will surprise quite a lot of people and puzzle quite a lot of people, because it features something that nobody thought of. Because most people think about the design of Anyone Can Whistle, the cookies and cookie crumbles and cookies and but we had an image of a girl in the pink gloves, sort of like that, and wearing the Eiffel Tower. So she is the lady from Lourdes. There's a song in there called "The Lady from Lourdes," which was never recorded on the original Broadway cast, and which I think was only touched on, but without the French accent, in the concert cast. And then she sings this major song called "Come Play With Me." Well, both the original Broadway cast and the concert cast, they never did it in obvious French accent. In fact, Lee Remick did it very straight, with very hardly any accent, and Bernadette Peters did it. Bernadette Peters. Basically, when Maria Friedman did it, and Sondheim very kindly came into the studios to coach Maria Friedman in her songs. And when Maria Friedman did it, she put on this chord accent, because she was playing with Hapgood. They were playing together. So "Come Play With Me." And so all these French words were pronounced with heavy French accent. And suddenly that song, you understand why the poster has this lady from Lourdes.
Yes.
And not the cookies, because in Act 2 and a lot of Act 3, the lady from Lourdes is always there because she's in disguise. Faye goes into disguise as the lady from the French lady.
Yeah.
See, which is not which unless you've seen the original or read the script, you are not aware that character, Faye, disguised as a French lady, is important.
Basically, you're bringing in almost a new show to the musical theater world.
I hope it excites some. I hope it excites some forward-looking hotshot director who take this up and champion this as a contemporary musical rather than a 60s musical. You know.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm on your website and I'm looking at this other thing, this digi mix of Salad Days. So tell us a little bit about what that exactly is, because it says a 2020 remix of a 1954 original. Sounds intriguing.
Well, over the years, unbeknownst to the general public, I've always been very frustrated when I listen to old two-track recordings and old mono recordings, especially two-track recordings, not so much mono, that there was some of them were so crudely mixed and badly presented, and the levels were all over the place, and you know. So I've been pressurizing my one engineer who I have two engineers I work with regularly all these years. I got her to just find me a way to make that work, to mix a two-track master.
Yeah.
Mix, not to just, you know, remaster, but mix it to actually, when the voice is too soft, to make sure that bring the voice up to you know, because in these old recordings you have suddenly a voice so loud and then suddenly goes and disappears and then it comes back and it, you know, so she said, no, it can't be done. I said, look, you got to do it. How about this? How about that? So I suggested, and we finally found a way where we can digitally, because of the digital medium, digitally remix two-track masters. And so I've done, I coined it Digimix because it's digital mix. Mm-hmm. It's not mastered. It's not just a question of just putting it through the digital, you know, it's actually mixing a two-track, which most engineers and producers say it's impossible, but it's not. we made it work. So I started first of all with my, without recording of a Little Lab Music, my own personal record, my J recording. Mm-hmm. Now that was always been very unsatisfying for me because we recorded it directly two-track Dolby Surround digital. Okay, so there is no multi-track master in existence. Mm-hmm. We recorded directly into two-track Dolby digital surround, and because of the surround sound, the volumes and the dynamics were very variable. Mm-hmm. Worked on the surround system because you put it loud and suddenly the sound was coming all over the place. But as a two-track experience, I was never been very happy with it. So when we found that we could sort of do Digimix, I started using that anyone can listen up music as a guinea pig. And to my surprise and shock that I managed to mix that and made it consistent and sound really beautifully now. Yeah. And so I said, oh, good, DJ Mix works. So and then I released, and then I know that I released the London Cast recording of Cinderella. It's a public, when I released it, it wasn't a public domain, but it is the public domain now. Mm-hmm. We released for the first time, that recording in stereo, because it was recorded at the early days of stereo. And because the mix was so variable and so crude, because I was experimenting stereo as well, that I thought, okay, I'll digimix that. And because it's a public domain now, I can just do it and release it without having to answer to anybody. One of the main fault with that recording is that because it started Tommy Steele, yes, of Half a Sixpence, who was a big pop star then. So all his songs and all his tracks, he was played so forward, like he was suddenly like ahead, so close and loud. Yeah. You know, whenever he sings, his voice is like in your face. And then everybody else, I found that unlistenable. So I used my Digimix to reseed him, to mix him into the recording, you know, and it worked.
Very cool. So,
So
and people can go to your website and listen to this
Uh,
mix.
well, not so much. I think the website has examples, but we have the Facebook,
Oh,
J
okay.
Records Facebook. All these examples and explaining what DJ mixes and everything are actually, if someone goes to J Records Facebook and likes it,
Mhm.
they can access and they can see, listen to all this because every time we periodically post songs and recordings and news. So anyway, coming back to very quickly to this, and then when I did Free as Air, which is a new recording of a Julian Slade musical, because it was revived in 6 years ago in London. I have a new recording, and then I thought, okay, why didn't I take the original London cast of Free as Air, which is in public domain, which we recorded in '50s, because it was also very badly and crudely mixed.
Hmm.
Did you mix that and release it as a 2 CD a package, special price 2 CD package? That was so successful, that was so popular. We sold a lot of that, and a lot of people are now looking for it and say, "Oh, look, what's the next one?" So I said, "Okay, fine, I'll follow with the Salad Days," because we had our own recording, a modern recording of Salad Days, and I took the original London cast again, which was done in the '50s, and DJ mixed that, and now we've just released the Salad Days as a combo in a very special price. And at the moment, I'm working on the third one, which is The Boyfriend.
It never ends.
Never ends.
There's literally thousands of shows that you could just go
Yeah,
through and have
totally. Oh,
fun
I could
with.
go to. I think I worked out. I could do about 25 DJ mix, two DJ packs, because we have about 25 modern recordings that I can take 25 public domain old recordings and mix it. After Boyfriend, I'm going to do Velma.
Oh, you're going to be busy, and I'm going to be busy listening to all of this stuff.
But do anyone listening who wants to go and find out what our recordings are and what news, just go into Facebook, like J Records Facebook page, and you'll be linked. And then when we post everything, we have successfully done during the lockdown. We decided to do campaigns to we know that we're going to be impacted our sales, but in fact, it's been better than ever, our physical sales since lockdown. But we thought we were going to suffer, so we did campaigns of discounted discounts and things like that. So the last one we did was Sonic Theatre, um, which which we have 70 complete recordings of the score and the entire play of musicals. So we were encouraging people to, because they have nothing, no theater to go to, can't go out, to maybe listen to some of the to Pacific Overtures, for example, the complete show, not just the songs, but all the dialogue. Basically, is that you're sitting in the theater listening to this entire play of Pacific Overtures before you. So we did that, and then every week we have two examples of a song from these recordings, and they've been very successful. People love it because they get to hear a song from Bittersweet, and a song from The King and I, and a song from West Side Story, from Pacific Overtures.
Yeah.
Two songs a week. We're about to start on our next campaign, which is the Off-Broadway, a festival of Off-Broadway. We have about 50 odd Broadway recordings, CDs to be made on offer. I think it's either 20-25% discount, or 30% discount. We haven't decided yet.
Okay, my credit card hates this already.
Good. And then you'll be able to listen to all the twice a week different recordings.
Yeah.
And of course they are kept. So when they want to go back and listen to what was past, they can. But they have to like J Records to be able to do that.
And how could they not want to like
I
that
hope
Facebook
so.
page?
I hope so.
Yeah, just looking at all the cast recordings, there's so many incredible. Like the first one is three guys naked from the waist down. I love that show. I play that. A Man of No Importance, Baby. Like there's so many shows on here that are well known and rare, and I play at least half of them, I think, which is fantastic because
Carry on,
there's so many
play.
great shows. So yeah, if anybody wants to check out musicals that they might not know, they should definitely go to jrecords.com.
Yeah. All musicals that they know.
Yeah.
Yeah. because
yeah, like you
yeah.
said, Pal Joey or Peter
Well,
Pan.
King and I, South Pacific, Guys and Dolls, West Side Story. It's
Yeah,
all that.
you have a little bit of everything on the website.
Oh,
Not
they have the whole spectrum, and of course we go back to operettas, the Student Prince, and things like that. And even before that, in the British canon, we have the Gilbert and Sullivan operas,
love
and
those.
Merry Widow, and Office and Then the World, and we have classical operas and a few operas, and a lot of Broadway West End artist solo albums.
Mhm. Wow.
So yeah.
Incredible. I love just going through those cast recordings. Go need it, got it, need it.
Well, the thing is something which very few people realize is we were and we still are the only British record company that crossed the Atlantic from London to New York and recorded Broadway cast and off-Broadway cast albums. Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's the American labels like American RCA, American CBS. They come to London and record.
Mm-hmm.
We went the other way, and again, luck played its part because
Yeah.
in 1983 I was doing some projects with the Rodgers and Hammerstein organization, and I went to New York, and my friend who still is the managing director of Rodgers and Hammerstein, Pat Chapin. When I arrived in New York, I had like a week or whatever in New York, and of course there were lots of big shows to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I scheduled to see all the shows, and there was one show that was running, On Your Toes,
Yeah.
the 1983 revival. But because I think it was Frank Rich, I think, who gave it a very bad negative review,
Mm-hmm.
which I read, and I didn't think so. I didn't even consider going to see On Your Toes. I was going to see all the other current Broadway hits.
Yeah.
But it was in New York. Then Ted asked me, "Are you going to see On Your Toes?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, you must. I'll organize a couple of comps for you to see tomorrow night."
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, fine." So I went to see On Your Toes, and I absolutely fell in love with it, listening to those wonderful original orchestrations by Hans Bialik, and that fresh, wonderful production, and then Lara Tita and Natalia Macara dancing, Christine Andrea. It just bowled me over. I just fell in love with it. Next morning I rang and I said, "Is anyone doing the cast album? Why isn't the cast album on? I've been done." So well, no one was interested.
Yeah.
I said, "I'll do it," without realizing how am I going to raise $200,000-300,000
Yeah.
to do that recording. So, but I said, "I'll do it," and then okay, I went to the office. We did it, and then we worked out a template, which I believe is being used now and before this by the Broadway producers, where we co-financed. Where I took care of a certain part, the Kennedy Center took care of a certain part, the Broadway producer took care of a certain part, and I think the publisher took care of a certain part. That's how we managed to raise the money to record On Your Toes.
Yeah.
And the big difference is that I own the masters.
That makes a big
Now
difference.
the producers own the masters. They pay for it, but they own the masters. And then because of On Your Toes was so successful, the album came out, and I did one of the reasons why people don't know that I own On Your Toes and I did On Your Toes was that I recognized that my tiny little independent label in England couldn't handle the American distribution of it. So I licensed On Your Toes to Polydor Records for a major label, and they put it out. They sold hundreds of thousands of units of that. And because of that, I got a phone call from Tommy Rolando, who was the publisher of Camden Ebb and Sondheim and David Shah and and Mobian Shah, one of the major publishers.
Yeah.
He called me and he says, "Hey John, you want to come over and record The Ring?"
Oh, The Ring. Wow.
I said, "Why?" He said, "Oh," I said, "Surely there must be a major company, Liza Minnelli, Chita Rivera, Camden Ebb." "Yeah, but nobody can seem to be able to get that deal going." So I said, "Okay." So, and I could understand. only a determined independent label could have recorded The Ring. There were, of course, BMG was desperate to do it, and I think CBS was desperate to do it, Sony, but they couldn't do it because of all the complications that were involved, which is another story.
Yeah.
But I could plead the fact that I have no money. I'm an independent label.
Yeah.
I can only afford so much.
Well, you know what you've done is incredible. And you say it's a luck. I say there's three aspects. You got luck, you've got skill, but you bring passion. And that's that third thing that makes a huge difference.
I think so. I think so. I mean, my recording, I spent, believe it or not, £800,000, about $1 million, recording the complete 3 CD set of The Most Happy Fella. Okay? That's how much it costs. Do you think that I thought that I would make money out of that? No, I haven't even recouped a fraction of it, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, conviction cost me £400,000, which is like $600,000.
Yeah.
I'm not going to recoup on that. But I'm thrilled. I'm so happy that it's finally coming out. You know, we have 70 complete recordings. You know? And you might well ask, where did I get the money from? Luck has it. Yeah, I got involved with a major project that involves me licensing 75 recordings from my catalog to a major project that netted me millions.
Nice.
And instead of keeping the money, I used the money to reinvest the money into making all these complete recordings.
And like I said before, thank you for doing all of that. John, it's been fantastic to talk to you and learn all about your company. People should go to jrecords.com, go to the Facebook J Records, like it so they can listen to all this music. You've done an incredible thing preserving musical theater cast recordings for future generations.
And preserving to the best condition and best ability.
Thank you so much.
I may economize on the budget, but I never stinge on quality. If it needs to be re-recorded, I will spend the money to re-record it. You know, if a session needs to be done.
you can tell by the recordings and what you've done. Before we go, I always ask my guests 3 questions. Now, there's no right or wrong answer, but there is one wrong answer, just to let you know. Okay. All right. So question number 1. Who is your favorite creator or team when it comes to music, lyrics, or book?
Well, I have no qualms answering that, because the one work that I think is like a work of genius, every bar, every note, every word is West Side Story. Okay, and so Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim, and Arthur Lawrence, I have no qualms in naming all 3 of them.
That is an incredible team. So, I will give you a point for that. That is correct answer. So
good.
Question number 2. Now, as a graphic designer, what are some of your favorite LP or record or CD covers that you just went, this is incredible? What are some of your favorite throughout time?
Okay. I have a favorite, but he's not a theater designer, but a film designer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the film poster designer and advertising illustrator called Bob Peak.
Okay.
Do you know him? Know of him?
No.
If I mention My Fair Lady, the film,
then we do know it. Yes.
And Camelot, you know. That's Bob Peak. Have a look. Have a check into Bob Peak. Bobpeak.
Okay.
And you'll be thrilled, and you'll be surprised that, my God, he did so many musical films. West Side Story, the film, not the West Side Story lettering, but he did a poster where there's illustration drawings of them running, out and
yeah.
So Bob Peak. I hope that's a good answer.
Good answer. That's another point. Congrats.
But David Byrne, I think if you want to show a designer, David Byrne, or how do you pronounce this word? Who did Follies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Follies is very good. All right, third question. Audience members eating food in the theater, yes or no?
No.
Good answer. I like that one.
And I'll tell you what, I almost, thank God I didn't get sued. It was in England because I had this girl sitting next to me
Yeah.
and she kept munching. And I just, in the end, I just hit the thing put out of her hand. I said, "Do you really have to eat this?" I just hit her and hit the foot off her hand. I said, "Do you have to really eat this?" And she looked at me, shocked. I think if I did that in America, I would have been sued.
Oh. I'm not going to recommend people do that, but that is the correct answer. Those are 3 perfect answers, John. Thank you so much for indulging me on this.
Real pleasure talking to you.
Oh man. Yeah. I can't wait to listen to Anyone Can Whistle and the Digimix and all that fun stuff that you're putting forth with your company.
And check into website, the J website, the J Records, www.jrecords.com.
I'll be doing that for sure.
Which you have on the screen, I know. But
don't worry, I will promote it. Don't worry, it'll happen. I'm going to get everybody to listen.
Thank you, and thank you for talking to me, and it's been a pleasure.
No problem, John. All right, so we were just speaking with John Yap from J Records. Tune in next week when we'll be speaking with another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanov, and until next time, my friends, I'll see you when I see you. We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community.